Good afternoon, everyone. North Atlantic sea surface temperatures down. This would be the Atlantic 60 years cycle. They don't talk about that in the climate debate too much. But these next successive water pulses entering the Arctic are going to be cooler and cooler, which would explain why it's growing sea ice. It's just not going to melt from beneath. Now, with all these gargantuan changes coming to our food growing across the planet, you can see why Syscoin, the third anonymity coin, was just hacked. Yellow boxes are the ones that have been hacked. The rest of the list is anonymity coins, which allow you to buy, sell, trade anonymously. Digital wealth management, meaning cryptocurrency, expected to eclipse 1 trillion by 2022. Problem is, millennials, they're not buying gold. They don't trust banks. They don't trust the stock market. They're going into crypto. But anonymity coins, you can't tax that either. Sovereign cryptocurrencies, meaning national governments issuing their own, blistering pace in this. But Japan outright bans all anonymity coins. I wonder why. Beyond the tax is all Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin futures, ETFs in the stock market, that can all be taxed and traced. But the underlying layer, which I really believe in my own opinion, is this National Defense Resources Preparedness Act, Executive Order 13603 from Obama. The national government can confiscate anything and everything, and you better be careful not to flag your purchases. Looking out to the solar activity forecast up to 2045, declines below 50 sunspots, let's bring that in. We're looking at something like a 1.5 degrees Celsius drop planet temperature-wise. We see this in the ice cores, that volcanic ash layer. These are cycles. More ice on Greenland, which is an outlier. Nobody wants to talk about this. But your anonymity to protect yourself while you get ready for the grand solar minimum is of utmost importance. Choose wisely. And during this time, you're absolutely going to need to grow some of your own food to supplement these rising food prices. Radish sprouts, sunflower sprouts, you can grow those indoors. Learn how long it takes to sprout out a batch before you can eat it. And the Adapt 2030 link for TrueLeafMarket.com, as well as the links to all of tonight's images and stories, are in the description box below. Now, taxes and your ability to prepare for this and tracking your purchases, this is all different categories here. So let's start with first Syscoin. This is the third anonymity coin in the last 2 months to be targeted. This was targeted with an API push versus a 51% attack. A little bit different. Binance shut everything off, stopped the transactions, but still there was an enormous amount of Syscoin stolen at that time. So if you're unfamiliar with what anonymity coins are, because you just heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe Tether, this is a list of the current top anonymity coins. Now, the ones I circled in yellow are the ones that have been attacked. Now, you have to realize Verge had over $1 billion market cap when it had its 51% attack. Syscoin just a couple days ago, and Zencash, which was the baby darling, bringing all the best tech from all of the spheres and spectrums of crypto into an anonymity form. Zencash, that was 4th generation. That was so far ahead of everything else, and it straight away got attacked. You have to think about which others will be next. There's a concerted effort to knock these coins off. And I can't think any other way that it's government sponsored, because they do not want these anonymity coins out there. Taxes are one thing, but you preparing for the grand solar minimum and you buying food, long-term food storage, water filtration, whatever it is, our governments want to know what you're buying so they can come and take it when the time comes. Now, I talked about 51% attacks. You have to overtake a network, and it takes a certain amount of money and a certain amount of hashing power and a certain share of that network's hash to get this 51% attack, and then you can reverse transactions, you can add in new code, you can double spend, you can do an enormous amount of things to create fraud within that blockchain. So just taking a look at Bitcoin Gold, this was another one that was touted to offer some level of at least anonymity inside it. Zencash, Verge, again, that was $1 billion market cap. Now, at the bottom where it says crypto51.com, this was a full rundown on every single coin and how much it would take you dollar-wise and how many hours it would to put one of these 51% attacks on any coin out on the market or token. But that website has been turned off for some reason. Now, these are proof of work. not proof of stake, a little bit different. So when we talk about POW attacks, proof of work, so how much will it cost in attacking a network, take it over, send it a bunch of fraudulent transactions? About this much. Bitcoin, at least $500,000 per hour. Again, you're not going to be able to take over so much of the network because there's so many miners out there. So you got to come down to think about where the mining power is sort of centralized more into just a few hands. Because Bitcoin, I mean, it's spread worldwide. People are mining everywhere. There's centralized mining all through Iceland, China. It used to be China. They moved to Vietnam. But look at Zcash down there. It's only cost you $50,000 an hour, and you can take over at least 24% of the network. And if you keep banging at it day after day, I'm sure you could take over 51% eventually. Zcash is another anonymity transaction medium. Now, Japan coming right out, banning outright all cryptocurrencies with a sufficient degree of anonymity. They're not saying 100% anonymity coins. See, that's very different. A sufficient degree of anonymity falls right back into Bitcoin Gold. And there's so many others that fall into this very loose definition of degree of anonymity. That could even, Bitcoin could fall under that. I mean, that pretty much leaves you what? Ripple to transact in? Now back to the tax issues here, and also you all preparing for the grand solar minimum out there. Millennials are not buying gold. They don't trust the stock market. They absolutely distrust the banks. When they were growing up, they saw the tumultuous times at the banking fiasco in 2008 with TARP and never-ending quantitative easing. They grew up during that time. They trust nothing that's centralized control. All their money for their highest earning years, that's going straight into crypto. What do I mean by that? These prime income years, boomers, they're all retiring right now. That's that light blue line. If you're over 35, you're in that gray line straight in the center. We're kind of peaking out here for earning. But look who's up and coming, the millennials. That dark blue line, none of that money sees a bank. Very little of that money sees a stock market. Almost all that money off that dark blue line, cryptocurrency. So I want to bring you back here to the solar activity forecast, because this is what it's really all about. It seems there's a concerted effort to deny you another avenue to prepare for this grand solar minimum, at least anonymously. Solar activity, I combined two different charts here. This is from the Pulkovo Observatory on the right, compared to what was our past solar activity through the grand solar minimums, through the solar cycles, through the centuries. Now running it out on the right is where we are going. 50 sunspots or below is the call from John Casey over the next solar cycle. I'm staying with John Casey, not NASA. John has been the most correct. I appreciate his work. That man has sacrificed more than you can possibly imagine in his life to get you this information. I believe his forecasts are the most correct. That's why I made these charts based on 50 sunspots. Now, a lot of you go, well, that's distorted at the end. That doesn't make sense. I can't. Okay, let's bring it in for you. So up to the year 2045, this is what our solar activity looks like. And going back in a history book, let's just put up the time frames here in the 1650s, Maunder minimum. Our crops are definitely going to be affected. They are starting to be now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your food prices are rising, and you might ask why. This chart explains most of it. Also with the ice core drilling, I want you to see where were the massive volcanic eruptions that were locked in ice as a trace on the cycles. Do you see the volcanic ash layer in this ice core? Over on the right, light tan. Okay, these are cycles also. This is what I'm trying to trace down, is how frequently do these layers of ash get deposited, and are they on a frequency that can be forecast? Also digging through Karim's feeds, he's got some amazing, amazing images there of ice cores and also what's going on where they're drilling up on the east grip. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. I also run the weekly podcast, Mini Ice Age Conversations, where I post 3 to 4 times a week, longer, more in-depth commentary with interesting guests, all about the grand solar minimum, where we're going with food pricing. And please remember to subscribe and click that bell if you got value out of this video. I'm trying to grow the audience on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Help me get there. The social media feeds that I do go through, especially Twitter and Facebook, there's a constant roll going on there, posting about every 3 hours. things that I don't normally put in the videos, but when I'm researching a video, I'll actually grab those links and still throw them in, even though I don't highlight it here or screen grab something to show you. There's an enormous amount of value in those feeds there. Adapt 2030 on Twitter and Mini Ice Age on Facebook.